for just a moment while all of the um, different streams boot up so I can make sure that I can see everyone. Looks like we're live on both places, so if you can hear me, you guys, let's make sure that you can. It looks like you guys can see both of you guys can see me, right? Okay. So it looks like we're good. Can anybody on YouTube also give me a shout out to make sure that I can see all of you guys, or that you can hear me? You'll see me in just a moment. So bear with me here just a moment while we get going. Great, you can hear me perfectly and loud and clear. I love that story. So we are going to jump in here and get this show on the road. You know, we have a really fun project to share with you guys today. So I cannot wait. It's one made by our very own Janice. And I'm really excited to share it with you. So let's get going. There we go. Here I am. Good morning. So today we're going to be, if you got your newsletter, if you grabbed your newsletter this morning, you saw Janice's really fantastic charm bracelet that she calls Before. Okay, and we're going to take a look at that one and take a look at how she put it together and kind of the ins and outs of creating a charm bracelet as well. You can see Janice has put the links up over on the YouTube feed, and I know that Geeta is over on Facebook over commenting as beadshop.com. I wanted to wish Geeta has a very special day coming up. It's been a week of birthdays, so Geeta, our wonderful Geeta from all the way across the miles in Denmark. It's her birthday this weekend, I believe. I hope I'm not wrong on that. And so I wanted to wish her a very, very happy birthday from over across the miles here from California. So, you know, Geeta, we couldn't do this without you. So we really, really appreciate all of your good cheer and here and in our Facebook group, the Bead Table. So a very, very happy birthday to you from all of us here at Bead Shop. So that being said, we have some fun. Oh, it's the 31st of May. So it's not, okay, so we'll just start today. We've got half a month to celebrate. So from now it's the 14th through the 31st. I'm going to wish you a happy birthday every day. It's your birthday month. When it's my birthday month, I want like birthday celebration all month long. So I think that's awesome. Oh, great. Well, happy birthday. I also see over on the YouTube feed, Donna, you celebrated 48 years of wedded bliss, and your cuff, I hope you got that notification, is in the mail. I hope you love it. I hope so. So let me know what you think, and wear it in health and happiness. I'm sorry it's a little delayed. I haven't had as much time at my bench as I'd like because I'm filling orders, but all of those cuffs are going out, so I hope you enjoy it. So let me know what you think. All right, so that all being being gone through all of those personal details, let's get it going on here. And so looks like we've got a lot of May birthdays. That's awesome. I'm going to give you a sneak peek, a quick peek about of Janice's piece if you haven't seen it. I've got it sitting right here. in front of me, and we're going to take a look at it. And I also kind of pulled another color palette over here that's crooked and has a bagging in the shot. Beautiful, beautifully done, Richburg. Get that out of there. Great. And we're going to talk about that palette as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit first about the inspiration behind Janice's piece. She talks about it. If you go to the project page on beadshop.com, she talked a little bit about why she created this piece. And the piece, let me get this. I'm going to put this right here so you guys can see it real quick. And so the piece that she did, it's called Before. And this is from what Janice wrote on the project. It says, the bee, a symbol of productivity, sits proudly in the center of this bauble charm bracelet. When Janice created it, the world was in the beginning of the global spread of COVID-19, and everyone started staying home to help stop transmission and save lives. And what Janice wrote, she said, I had a very strong reaction to how much life was different before, in quotes, the outbreak. The old way of life and how busy we all were, how crowded life was, and then after. And suddenly everything was quiet and the air was clean. And so she kind of made kind of this piece, it's called Before, with all of this busyness and a busy bee and all of this kind of stuff. And now, she created this piece to kind of reflect how she was feeling about it. So it's a pretty cool piece. I really, really love it. And, charm bracelets are really, I think, traditional charm bracelets are kind of an extension of kind of your feelings, things that you've gathered, things that you put together, things that you, that you curate together. So this piece has all kind of been curated with things that Janice loves. So we're going to look at this in a second, a little bit deeper. But I brought some pieces of my own that I want to share with you, and how a traditional charm bracelet can then be created into a piece like Janice made. And so we're going to look at how they kind of go back and forth. So I brought my drawer. This is my drawer from my jewelry armoire. I just pulled it out. I didn't do anything fancy. I just pulled it out of the armoire, and I brought it into work. Okay. And so because layout and the way that you kind of think about the way that you're going to put a charm bracelet together is kind of important. Oh, look, here's a little bit of cat hair here. How embarrassing. There we go. And so this is my collection of charm bracelets. And I know, like you guys, many of you have collected charms. It was a very in thing, right, in the 50s and 60s. And so I have a charm bracelet for every decade of my life. And we did a whole show on it. Adria linked it over on the blog post. There's a blog post here. So it's a tradition that my mom started for us, and for my sister and I, actually, when we were little. And so this is the first one. You can see class of 84 right there, 84 ever, my senior key, all kinds of, things that are on here from kind of my first decade, my first and second decade. And then I have one really for every decade of my life, really. This is the one where I did a lot of traveling, the one in my 20s. It has a lot of things from England, and I got this one at the Tower of London. And so all of these are kind of reminders of, like, places you've been, people that you've been with. I have one of my grands. After my grand passed away, we grew up in a very, very Catholic family, and if you grew up in an Italian Catholic family, you had a religious medal for everything, everything, at least we did. And so this is her collection. After she passed away, I put her collection of all of her religious medals on this charm bracelet. My mom got her this years ago. My mom remembered this. She got her this for Christmas, and the one there's all these saints charms right here, and one that says Merry Christmas. These, and then Santa. So it all kind of goes together with it, right? And so that's this one here. I have one. This one belongs to my mom. I don't know if you guys are familiar with California, but San Martin was a very small little town just outside of Gilroy, and I think this was my mom's from San Martin School. This probably dates back to the 50s. Chris, knowing how I love that style, bought one for me in a vintage shop, and it's that same style. Look, but it's a San Francisco one here. I also have a Paris one. It's in my little thing that of jewelry that I wear regularly, that I put it away. Gita noted it. So I do have one there. And friends have given them to me. My friend Jessica and Emily, for my 50th birthday, found this old vintage one that, Jack, who was born on 12/13/1964. I mean, I have no idea and who that was. This was a wishing you well from 65 to 67. So Jess and Emily gave me this one for my 50th birthday, and I want to add some more things to it, right? And then I just have other ones that were a swap. And this one here was from my 40s. It has, places that I've gone, a Disneyland charm. Yes, that is a small picture of John Cusack in this little frame. That's personal meaning, very personal meaning to me. When I went to see Wicked in 2009. So they all kind of run together. They're all great memory things to jog your memory, right? And so I have a couple that I've started, and I want to show you. So with this decade, and I also have, when Chris's mom passed away, she has his, I need to put this all together, but this is my Chris, December 10th, 1966. There he is, and I know there's one for his brother Alex, Frederick Alex, on here as well. So this one belonged actually to his grandmother, and so I have it now. She worked for Del Monte Canning over there. This'll throw you out. Could do a throwback to some of you. I guess she worked at Del Monte for so many years, and look, she has these little gold charms with a little diamond and stuff in them. So I just think they are just charming, literally. I love them so much. This, I think, was Chris's mom's high school key that needs to go on here as well. So I'll get that one together as well. Julie is saying that she likes charm bracelets. However, she doesn't like to wear them. She doesn't like the jangling noise. That's the one thing, Julie, I will tell you, that I love. I love the jangle and the noise of this. I wear them stacked, sometimes 2 and 3. And I remember I was reading the liner notes. Chris and I have a hi-fi that we play, what a surprise. And we have an old Frank Sinatra record. And on the back of the liner notes, it talks about how Frank invited the musicians and the musicians' wives. And the musicians' wives, they're taping it live. And the musicians' wives all were sitting in the audience, and they all had to put their hand over their charm bracelets to quiet the jingling. I don't know, it was kind of funny. It really resonated with me. I don't know. So when I wear these, I just like the music that they make. But you know what? If you don't, you can make them certainly into a necklace as well. So I have this one that I'm building. These are charms that need to go together. I've been putting them in this little bin. Yes, good eyes. The last time I went to Canada, I got a Canadian charm. I found this one, a blue ribbon, this first prize blue ribbon. I found it at a flea market because I've never worn a blue ribbon, but darn it, I bought myself a blue ribbon charm. And so I've started to kind of put together, I have a couple here. This is another one I think that Jess gave me that was someone's old charm bracelet, but I'm putting them together. This is from when we took a cruise, things like that. So things like this, these charm bracelets, I think have kind of a very sentimental feeling to them, because way back in the day when we would buy charms, right, it would be because of, you'd travel somewhere or you would have a momentous occasion and be together with with someone, right? And so that charm would mark the occasion. A little charm here from Green Girl. I've got these pieces. Another little Green Girl. This is her armored owl that I need to put on there too. So, so to me now, in the time of COVID, in the time of social distancing and not being able to travel as much as we'd like, I think that these bracelets have more of a bittersweet kind of feeling to them, right? Because we're not traveling as much and we're not hanging out with our pieces, I know, Julie, it's so true. It simply would not do for all of us to be alike and like the same things. I agree. I agree completely. That's what makes us so unique and amazing. So while you have your charm bracelets on display, I will wear my 5. Perfect. I love it. So when Janice put her piece together, and let me get Janice's piece out here. It has that same kind of, I think, bittersweet. I'm going to put all these charms back in here in my little bin, right? Because, will I need to put these together, right? I do. And my mom, I wanted to show you before we look at Janice's, my mom sent this, it comes naturally, this love of things. So I wanted to show you just real quick. My mom sent a photo of her charm bracelet. I'll show you. She took it out, put it on the bed, and took a photo of it. This is hers from all of the places. She was a seed analyst, a botanist, and they would have meetings every year. So she would get a charm bracelet from every state or province up in Canada that she went to for the different meetings. So that's hers. And yes, that was an anvil charm that you saw, Ma, and that was indeed from Chris also. So he still gets me charms for my bracelet. But if we look at Janice's piece here and kind of break it down and talk about kind of the sentiment that she created, that she was kind of thinking of as she created this, it was her kind of reaction to how different life was before we were sheltering in place, right? And it was crowded and it was busy, and I think she had to create kind of this calming piece to kind of show and share that internalization of how of how she was feeling. So that really I think comes out in our jewelry that we make, right? And so with Janice's piece, I kind of took a nod from her piece, and you can certainly mix up metals. Gita was asking, do you only use silver in my bracelets? I know I usually love mixed metals. In my charm bracelets, Gita, I do have a few gold charms, but it seemed that silver charms, especially when I was buying them when I was younger, were much more affordable than gold charms, right? So that's what I got mostly, right? So that's why I have them. But So with Janice's before, okay, here, I did a little bit of a riff and I used some different colors, right? So instead of having kind of a monochromatic palette, I pulled things in coppers because you know how much I love copper. And so I'm going to kind of bring them one by one and kind of bring them over to this pad over here and kind of share a little bit about how I would use those. Let me get a little tighter with Janice's piece. So you can see with Janice's, and she gives a wonderful description, so I'm not going to go over actually how to make all of these pieces because you guys have the skills to make these already. But if you scroll down to the project map, she talks about measuring, she talks about selecting chain, wire wrapping your units, things like that, okay? And so it's very, it's 8 steps that she really outlines very, very well, okay? So Janice used the Rustico, she used the smooth sailing, and she used the wrapped link. Well, in my haste, I only grabbed 2 um, um, chains, and I made a list. They're over here. I'll click on it again, and Drea can add it into the blog post. But I'll click on this again, so I've got the list here. So don't stress. I'll show you. Just go along with me on this. So I just grabbed Rustico, and I thought I could on both sides of the Rustico, or I could put that smooth sailing in the center, right? And then put Rustico on both sides like this. Okay, like so. Right? And you could do 2 strands even, or 4 strands, or whatever. It doesn't make any difference, right? Whatever you like. Drea said already, adding as you talk. That's so funny, Drea. Take a screenshot. Here's a screenshot right here. Take that screenshot. Do it. Okay, perfect. Let me get back to this. Okay. And then I thought about the beads that I wanted to showcase on here. Now Janice used some of our brand new, we just got these in and they dropped a couple of days ago. It's the, I have the list here and I'm scrolling down it. It's the antique, I think this is the antique silver 8 millimeter English cut, really beautiful. So I grabbed an English cut myself. And this one is the, I'm going to have to click back over so I remember, the green aqua mercury. Okay, and I love the way the green plays off of the copper here. Okay, then Janice also uses a 5 millimeter rondelle, which in this case it is the light canary mercury rondelle right there. I thought I would want to match a little bit with the copper, so I grabbed the metallic mix one. And the metallic mix is super popular with all of you guys. It's kind of hard to see all the colors there, but you can see it'll really pull out a lot of the different colors in there, and I think it goes very well with that green. Then Janice used a melon bead in here, and you can see there's the melon that's right there. I'll point with the pointer so my finger doesn't get in the way. And what she used there was the opal, ivory, and mercury. What I grabbed was, I want to make sure I get it right, click over to my list, the blue turquoise Picasso melon. Okay, and so it gives it, it's a little bit of a different green, introducing a little bit of a different green there. And then finally with the drops, and I love how Janice just added the drops right in here to the end, just added them on. She used the antique silver drops. I grabbed the green luster drop. So it's kind of heavy on the green, where Janice's is kind of heavy on the kind of the gold, the silver, kind of that monochromatic palette. I kind of went for a green with a little pop of um, that copper. Now, if I'm using all of these, okay, if I'm using all of these beads, I also grabbed some charms. Now, Janice just used the single bead, but I grabbed a few more because you can add a bunch if you like them. And I grabbed, Janice uses the vertical Clio, see that vertical? But you could also use the regular Clio, which I grabbed here, the 3. The vertical Clio simply means that the loops on the clasp are vertical, going vertically across. These are facing front, facing you. And so you would just connect them with some jump rings, or like what Janice did, which I think really pulls everything together nicely. See how she made a series of 3 wire wraps that connect the chain to that clasp, and that adds a little over 1/2 inch on each side, so you need a little less chain if you do it this way, and she's done it that way on both of these ends, and it's a nice kind of bookend. You know, Janice, most of you know this, but Janice grew up at her mother's side, her mother's vintage jewelry loving side, so every piece that Janice creates has a little bit of that vintage vibe in it, and this closure is just so old school vintage. I love it. So just like I would be laying out charms in my charm bracelet as I put my charms on a traditional charm bracelet, right? How do you start if you're going to do a larger piece and put multiple charms on, you know, how do you kind of start to make sense of that? Well, I'd start probably by just putting something smack dab in the middle here and seeing, you know, how that looks. And then maybe using some of my larger pieces. It looks like I've got larger charms here, 3 of them. So I might put one there, and then I might put my bee over there, maybe on the 3rd strand, maybe a little tighter in there, something like that. Okay, then I would fill in, I've got this little earth charm. This would need a couple of jump rings, right? So that could go there. I've got these little bitty drops, and I could put them together or I could space them out, right? I could do that. And then I've got this hibiscus charm that maybe I'd put right there. So maybe I'd put that a little off center, like so, and this one would go up at the top. And then I'd just look and see how I liked the arrangement of the charms, right? Now, Janice also used the teardrop bauble on hers in silver, and we have it coming back in. I know it's a huge disappointment when you go and you're like, you're out of the teardrop bauble. I know, I'm sorry, the supplies, the darn supply chains are so screwed up with, you know, with what's going on right now, but we have some coming, so put yourselves on the notification list. We thought it would be here a little bit earlier, but it's just not. So you can put yourself on the notification for that teardrop bauble, and you can see what Janice did was she just attached it with jump rings and did just a little length of it here. But you could also mix your metals. We have the teardrop bauble in right now in copper. In silver right now, we also have this chain called leafy. And I think this leafy chain, Janice and I both love this teardrop bauble so much that poor little leafy, I think, gets left sitting by the fireplace. You know, it's the Cinderella of chains. But the leafy chain is exactly like the teardrop bauble, except they're leaves instead of baubles, right? So you could sub that, and I think the leaves would, especially if you're using this bee, the leaves would look darling on this as well. And essentially all you do, you can see it's like little charms. You've seen me do this before, but it's little charms that are on these soldered rings, and you just simply clip one of the soldered rings away, and then you have that little dangle of leaves there. Hang on to the leaves that fall off of the soldered ring because you could use them anywhere you want it. Okay, so any of those will work. Okay. Oh, Drea already has updated the blog with this ingredients list. That girl is fast, right? So that's kind of how you would start. Lay this sucker out. Start to think about it. And then as you measure, you want to make sure, number one, that these chains are heavy enough to carry all of this weight, right? But you want to measure your wrist, and you want to add about an inch to the total length of that, because the way that this closes, and I'll close this up, if you're doing it like Janice, this is the way that this closure looks. And let me get my little ruler here to measure. So you want to know that your closure is going to add, if I go almost door to door, it's going to add about 1.5 inches. So let's say 6.5, right, inches. If my wrist is 6.5, I would make this bracelet probably about 7.25 ish, maybe a little bit longer because it's a multiple strand and it's bulky. So I know that I need to take away, if I'm going to do this closure like Janice did, I need to take away about 1.5 inches from the length of the chain. I would cut your chain just slightly longer than you think you might need it, because you can always clip away just a couple of links if you need to. Okay, so for me, I probably would cut these chain lengths at about 6 inches for me. Add everything in, because you can also add a little bit more at those here. So if this is 1.5 inches, these were 6, it would give me about a 7.5 inch bracelet. Okay, so yeah, I do love it. I think it's real pretty. And again, the wrapped link, Janice used the 3, 1, 2, 3. But I might, if you wanted it, if you're adding a bunch of charms and stuff and maybe want the chain to be a little more streamlined, maybe I'd put that large one in the center and then the rest to go on the sides. And then here's that green palette. So as you then kind of wire wrap, right, and as you kind of play around with it, you'll just add, what Janice did was she added all of her charms on here with jump rings, right? So you really want to make sure, so you can make all of the components. You don't have to add these right away onto the chain. So you can, kind of assembly line, make a bunch of different components with your other beads. And then if I have my charms laid out here, kind of, they got a little rumpled up, but then you can start to lay out your different components in the pieces and see how they look. And then you just come through and you add them all with your jump rings. Now, one thing before we part ways, I want to grab a jump ring. I know I have them here. These are a little bit larger than what Janice used, but especially with charm bracelets, like these are my go-to if I'm putting charms on my bracelets. I like a heavy gauge. Janice used ones, she used the 4 millimeter. You could also bump up to the 5 millimeter if you want, but you really need to make sure that you open and close these rings so that they stay closed. So that, before we leave today, that is what I want to leave you with, okay, before we part ways. You can use 2, and we have a skill builder on this too. You want to use 2 pliers. You want to use a bent chain nose and a, I know, before we part ways, just today, don't worry. Don't worry, Leslie, I'm not going anywhere. We're just parting ways for today. It does sound kind of final, doesn't it? It's my flair for the dramatic, I think, before we part ways until I see you on Tuesday. Um, what I do is I like to hold the bent chain nose in my non-dominant hand, in my left hand here. Okay. And I'm going to hold that jump ring with that bent chain nose and see how I'm holding it right up to where it opens. Okay. I'm going to take the straight chain nose. I'm going to hold my non-dominant hand, my left hand, which is here. I'm going to hold that still. And I'm going to come in with my right hand with the regular chain nose. And I'm going to just push that ring forward so it opens. See that? Can you see how it's opened? I didn't pull it out this way. I pushed it forward. Now you're just going to add your charm. Let gravity hang on there. I'm just going to put it on as if I were putting on the bracelet. Let gravity do its job and pull everything down. Okay? Now you're just going to do the reverse of everything here, right? I'm going to grab right, it's hard for you to see, I know, but I'm going to grab it with that plier right there, right next, see how close I am to the openings? And as I close, I'm going to go past the opening again. What you're doing is you're work hardening the ring on the opposite side so that when you're pushing them together also at the exact same time. So when you are closing it and you want to check it on all fronts, you want to make sure that it's closed this way, so it's closed up, and then it's closed this way and you can't see daylight through it. See how that's really closed, right? So it's not going anywhere. So again, open and close. I'll do this without the chain and stuff in there. I hold it still with my non-dominant hand. With my dominant hand, I open, put my charm or whatever on, and then I come back, it's a little close, back and forth, and as I'm moving it back and forth, I'm also kind of pushing it together, and you can feel the tips of that jump ring come together and close. Okay? And sometimes I give a little hug like that. But check it on all fronts. Yes, it's closed here. You can see that the ring is closed. And if I turn it this way, you can't see daylight. So practice with your jump rings, whatever jump rings you like to use. And make sure that you're really adept at opening and closing. Okay? So wherever you fall on the charm bracelet spectrum, you guys, whether you love to wear them or collect them or look at them or whatever, I think they're a really fun way to kind of mark an occasion. It's a great exercise in kind of almost like a Tetris or a jigsaw puzzle, right? Kind of putting different components together so they look nice all together in the finished piece. It's kind of a fun journey to make, and so many times your charm bracelets are a reflection of the journeys that you've made. So again, you can see I brought my drawer full of my charm bracelet journeys, which I love, keep collecting your charms, you guys. Even though we're not traveling as much, you can still collect some kind of cool and wonderful things that give some meaning. So I don't know. This will make my 8th. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I can't stop. Right. There was a quick question that Sandy had about head pins, about can you make your own. Let me just take this quick moment. I'll show you if I have it here in the drawer. I usually do, and I do. So let me just show you this real quick, Sandy. If I'm making some head pins, and you were saying yes, you can make them, you can hammer the end of them, but you'd prefer to have a flat bottom on these. Let me show you just real quick. the way that the head pins are done, like we have them, they're manufactured that way so that you see. I wish I had a heavier gauge of wire, but I'm just going to work with what I have here. This is 22 gauge. I would probably use like 20 gauge probably is what I'd use. And you want to be really careful with the manufactured head pins you get. You want to make sure that they're slightly tempered but not over tempered because they'll break. Okay, so what you can do here, let me get really tight on this. Here's my bench block. I just happen to have my bench block sitting here, right? And I'm gonna hammer, okay? So bear with me here for the noise for just a second. I should put things on mute. Okay, so see how I paddled that out? And that's just what you were saying. You can do a little paddle pin, right? And so I'm going to put one of these beads on here. Okay. Let me see. And let me, whoops, come on, one of these little 4 millimeters, right? And I'll put this on. Okay, just like that. And you can see how much of the pin is sticking out, which is what you're saying you don't like. And obviously on a charm bracelet, this would just be deadly. It would be very uncomfortable. So what I would do, whoops, I think I just threw some head pins on the ground, but that's okay. Hopefully that box was closed. I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut it pretty close. Give myself a little bit of room there. See that? Okay. So this hardly has anything sticking out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that bead out because I know it fits. I'm going to get my my nail file that Gita sent me from Denmark that I always have ready to go. And I'm going to file this down. I'm going to do it a little closer to my eyes. So bear with me here a little bit off camera. You can also do this with sandpaper too, but you can kind of file the ends so they're rounded, right, with your little emery board if you don't have a metal file, right, just like that, all right. Then, and you can file it a lot. I'm not going to do it a whole lot, but you can, whoops, see, I filed it too much. See that, how I filed the end off of there? That's no good. Let me see, maybe the hole on this side was the right one. Yeah, there we go. So see here how I filed and filed, and you kind of want to round it up just a little bit. And if you do that and you put some small beads on the bottom, you'll be fine. Okay? So that's kind of how I, in a pinch, if I didn't want a long paddle on the end, I'd do that. And again, just file it, round it just a little bit more so it has a little bit of a curve, and it's hardly noticeable. And it's really, this isn't coming off at all. I can really pull it. This side is a little larger, that whole size. And yeah, you could add like a little hishi, like a little round flat spacer or something like that to make it look a little more like a head pin. Exactly right. Okay. So there's the list one last time that you can look at. I really hope that you create something fun and exciting for yourselves with this. You know, while we're sheltering, while we have a little more time on our hands, it's a really good time to take up an epic project like this. And as always, you guys, you can find everything here that we've used if you go to our website, beadshop.com. We really appreciate all of your likes, your sharing of our videos, your comments on the videos. If you go like on YouTube, if you follow us on YouTube, you'll get notifications about when we go live. And if you hit that thumbs up under the YouTube video after it's published, it really helps to get the word out there to everyone who wants to, who who wants to make jewelry, and hopefully will find these tutorials. Okay. So again, we really, really appreciate it because, we're just a little small business doing our thing here. So we're all happy and healthy here at beadshop.com. I wore some vintage pins in honor of kind of the vintage vibe that we're putting off today. So there won't be a broadcast tomorrow on Friday the 15th because Chris and I are working really hard to get orders out. I know it's it's just kind of the way things are now. When you order things online, it takes a little bit longer because you have a reduced crew, and we have a reduced crew here. It's Chris and I. So thank you so much, as always, for your kind notes, your emails, and your understanding of this, our limitations during this time. So check out the project. Be creative this weekend. When I'm back on Tuesday, I'll be back on whatever date that is, Tuesday the 19th of May. I want to hear that you've been really creative and have had a fantastic weekend. So everyone, I'll give you a cheers with my coffee. Enjoy. Have a great weekend. Oh, and Drea just reminded me, check your newsletters tomorrow. I have something special in there for you. We've got a special little giveaway. I'm not going to say any more. You have to look on the newsletter. All right, everyone. I'll see you on Tuesday. Stay safe out there. Wash those hands. Wear those masks. Do your best. Talk to you soon. Bye.